Okay, for those who are on this live stream, this is another in our now quite long series of software architecture review meetings that we are live streaming. We're actually doing several today, I believe. This one is about new features in image, audio, and signal processing going into the upcoming version of Wolfram Language. And I suspect this is going to consist of a large number of fairly small items, but we'll see what there is. Okay, so let's get started. All right, so let's start off with image trim. So what should I look at the documentation page?
Yes.
How are the ROIs specified? And by the way, it looks like we need subimage as a spelling word. I'll send that in. Go ahead. How are the regions of interest specified?
That table, that first table, you can specify a list of points, a region, an image, or a function.
So when we have a machine learning function that responds with the bounding box of the elephant in the image or something, what is it giving back? And is it easy to feed that into image trim?
Exactly. That's a constant region queue. So that qualifies as that second entry of the table, region, a 2D or 3D graphics geometric region.
Oh, so that thing comes back as a rectangle, and then you feed the rectangle into image trim?
Right.
Can I try that? I mean, is there an image? What would I do? Image position or something?
Image position gives you single points. Image bounding boxes. You want to.
What is image positions?
This is the one that gives the undocumented function with image contents, which basically gives a single XY position representing the object that you've asked for.
So if I say, let me pull up a picture.
If you do find faces, right, which as well has changed down the list, or yeah.
Okay. Well, let's just do let's do a web image search for herd of antelope. Well, let's not do antelope. We might not have antelope. Elephants. How about that? Let's get some thumbnails of those. So what should happen is I should be able to find the elephants. Boy, I don't know how well delimited the elephants are going to be. Let's try that one there. So what do? I say image positions of that, comma, elephant.
Or yeah, if you want bounding boxes, I would do image bounding boxes of elephants.
Let's try that. See whether that works. Do you think this is going to work?
I have to check if elephants were in the classes of train. Yeah, well, there you go. Something's
okay. So right. So now let me play with this. What do I do to highlight with that?
Highlight image, the same image, and those positions.
Okay. Very cool. That's really quite nice. Okay, so now let's say I want the bounding boxes of the elephants.
Image bounding boxes.
And then it's the same jazz with the elephants. Okay, so now you're saying I can go image trim of that original elephant picture.
Yes.
Map that onto those things there.
Yep, or in fact, you don't need the map because we now support multiple regions of images, regions of interest.
I see. Okay, cool. I'm going to save this because this is a nice, I like these examples. Not what I wanted. Let's see, where do I want to save this? Oh, whatever. I'll just save it at the top level there for now. Okay, image processing 01. We may end up with some useful examples here. Okay, okay, cool. Very nice. And that's, okay, so that's the mask image. How would I get the masks from here? How would I get the elephant masks, so to speak?
What do you mean?
Well, I want to get it, pixel value 1 in the over the extent of that elephant. What's that?
For that bounding box, I think you
well,
have to.
Or for the elephant itself.
That we don't have a function that gives you back segmentation for the elephants. As far as a neural network function, you can do more image processing to do region growing, for instance, around those positions that you found.
Seems like we should have a segmentation function,
right?
Neural net-based segmentation function.
Right. That's the next step for image contents. For now, our image contents is doing just bounding boxes.
Are we documenting image positions in this version?
No, because we yet don't have the larger training.
Are you sure? When is that coming? I mean, I thought Sebastian was now ready to do that.
I'll talk to him again.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's coming. Okay, well, that looks nice for image trim. Okay, masking. Masking is an option to a bunch of things.
Yes, and we're going to add it to more things. But for this version, we are just supporting regions as well here. So things like rectangles or any.
Yeah, and look what isn't referenced here. That should point to masking, right?
Yeah, would be nice.
Should we put it at the end?
I think so, yeah.
And does masking point back to image trim?
No, and I think even more importantly, maybe we want to link to some segmentation functions.
Yes, like what?
Binarize, region binarize, remove background maybe to begin with.
Even before image apply?
I think so, yes. These are very old C alsos.
What is it called? Remove background, right?
Remove background.
I think you should fix these C alsos. Let's not do them all here.
Okay.
But I think also, okay, so when I see image take, does image take have, does it also have region of interest specifications?
No, this one goes with the take syntax. So it's rows, columns, slices syntax.
Seems to me that as a courtesy, we might as well support region of interest as well. I mean, or do you think it's then just pointless? Because
no, I don't think that doesn't seem right.
Because it's then basically doing the same thing as image trim.
Yeah, but also this is a take. It's a
take family.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And what about image crop? This
one is the one that takes the final desired size of the image.
I see. So in principle, image crop could take, elephant instead of size here. Maybe that's crazy. I mean, that's perhaps crazy because it's like, which elephant are you talking about kind of thing. And, it might pick the wrong elephant in the room, so to speak. Whatever.
I would still think if we want to add that, it should go into image trim.
Fine. Let me look at image trim for a second. I think it's, arguably it's not the right thing to do in image trim because it's too ambiguous. I mean, if you have multiple objects in an image, what are you going to do? I think it's fine. I think what you've done is fine.
Okay.
All right, let's move on. Image acquisition. So that's current image on Linux. How does that relate to the Raspberry Pi support of current image?
We were just, I don't think we have tested it actually. I'll look into that.
Because current image has its own driver on Raspberry Pi.
I don't think this will affect that.
Okay.
I'll check.
Okay, image capture function. What is that? That's part of current image?
That's a new option that you suggested for 11.2, but then we didn't get to implement it. And not for current image, but for image capture, because we have one buffer per camera, and we cannot apply more than one function to it at the same time. We don't want to create more buffers for each camera for now, at least.
So wait a minute. So what is this doing?
So whenever an image is captured, we apply the image capture function to it and then store it in the buffer. Unlike image preview function that gets applied to the image before it's just displayed.
I see.
And the use
So
case
what's the point of it? So the
you,
preview function can be showing you in some weird form.
right. Say highlight faces, but you don't want to really put the highlighted rectangles in the buffer as well, right? But then for capture function, you may want to do mirroring, left to right mirroring, or resizing, or anything of that sort that you actually want to apply to the frames before you save them.
But why wouldn't you just wrap that around the why wouldn't you just wrap that around the image capture function? Oh, because you're doing it in multiple frames. No? Yeah. Well,
the capture function is the function that has to go in as an option so that we apply that to the images before storing. Preview function could have been just a wrapper, like dynamic of edge
No,
detect.
I get it, but I don't understand. Why aren't you just saying, if you want a left, right, reverse, why don't you just say image reflect of image capture?
Because then you can, we may want to use previous frames from the buffer, and I think it's redundant to have to do it. If you do image reflect of image capture, then you're reflecting after acquisition has happened and the buffer is saved in the buffer. The frame is saved in the buffer.
But why does it make any difference when you do the transformation?
As I said, we also have this syntax of current image that you can go back in the buffer and get the last 50 frames and do something.
Oh, I see. I see. I get it. But how does it work with current image then? But current image doesn't have this option.
Not the capture function, because we don't want different calls to current image with two different image capture functions.
Okay, so what you do is you do image capture and then you use current image to go and fetch previous images from the buffer.
Exactly. But also something we are planning to do is for each individual camera device, we are adding an image capture function property, which can be set to any arbitrary function.
Okay.
At the device level, we can
that's nice. Right.
It's going to be better than the image capture route.
I mean, this all strikes me as a little bit hokey, and probably when we are doing more stuff with video, we may yet regret all these things. What do you think? I mean, I don't know what, for example, this image capture function, one could imagine when one's dealing with video that one might want to do frame diffs and stuff like that right there.
Mm-hmm.
And I doubt this can do that because it's one argument.
Okay, multiple argument forms.
Should we tag this? Can we make this function experimental? Can we tag this as experimental?
This is an option, sure.
Let's do it. I'll put it in just to remind us. Okay. All right, let's keep going. Multiple image capture capabilities. Okay, that's cool. Is that true on all operating systems?
Yes.
Nice. Okay. Image graphics. I'm sorry, I'm just moving along because we've got a lot to cover. Image graphics.
Nothing in the ref page yet, but two things that are coming. One is curved polygons. If you scroll down, most of the polygons we're creating used to be jagged like that.
Okay, so for example, if I look at this guy, one of my friends. I don't think
it's in the X kernel yet. You'll still get the old result. Okay.
But what you're telling me is it's going to turn it into Bezier curves or something, or what?
Exactly.
That's rather disappointing there. Now, is there an option to determine whether it Bezierifies it?
I suppose. Sorry, I didn't think about that. I think so. That could as well just be yet another method setting.
Possibly. I mean, I don't know what, but let me ask you this question. I mean, sometimes there are purposes for which you really want lines because you're trying to use the thing for some kind of analysis that requires lines. And sometimes you want the most faithful representation, right?
Right. That's why we have currently method goes to exact to be the closest possible to in fact, the exact representation of the regions. Although
maybe we should have a performance goal here.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should have a performance goal which could either be, simple output.
So I think that, the long-term evolution of this function, I think we need you know, the stuff there that should be an argument are sort of eventually objectives. What's the goal?
Yeah.
Okay. I think we're a little distance away from that right now, but I think that that's where this function needs to go, that you
Fair
can
enough.
simple high-level objectives.
Yeah, but okay, so rather than a performance goal, just stick the objective right in there as a second argument.
Right. But as I said, we are a little distance away from that now. And I think an important use case right now is to get curves correctly.
Right.
You know, and that you can imagine things, you know, there could be things where you actually want curves for some processing purposes, but it could also be that you want just a plot, you know, scanned plot that, you know, like what's the curve?
And we
Sure.
are getting close to that, but again, still nothing in next kernel builds. Maybe we'll get a version of it in 11.3, but most probably we're going to cook it well for 12.
Okay. Question for, here's a question. When I want to get the data from a font, we have some wacky way of getting that by exporting and importing PostScript, right?
Yeah.
We were going to have a glyph graphics thing, weren't we? Or some kind of, whatever happened to that?
What's glyph graphics?
It's the thing. Okay, so for example.
And who did you talk to about that?
I think John Fultz, but I mean, I think that's, but he shouldn't be the one doing it. I mean, I can go find what, this is an amazing number of error messages.
Yeah, started from cluster classify.
Wow.
Also.
Okay. In any case, the glyph thing. Let me show you what I remember about this. I don't even remember. Let's see. Glyph. Let me just see whether I can. There is a extract outline curves from a glyph. What is that? How did this possibly work? How does that work? Well, that isn't what I was looking for, because what I was looking for was something where you are extracting things. Let me see. Did we have an example here? Oh, what's that? No. Where is the example? There is an example, but it's really kind of wacky. Let's see. I think it's in the PostScript. Is that right? I may be misremembering where it is. I found it recently. Basically, the scheme is you do. I
mean, there is an import that you can do and get the you know, because they can be exactly represented as.
I know, as Bezier curves and so on.
Yeah.
Right. But there's a way of doing it, but it's really hokey. And I think we should have a way of doing it that isn't hokey. And it's very similar to this function. Instead of image graphics, it's more like you know, glyph graphics or something. Right, that will give you back.
It's more like a pure import, right? Or do you want to
I'm imagining, what I'm imagining is that you simply say, you know, here's a piece of typeset text, right?
I see.
So, you know, x squared plus y squared. And what I want from this is the glyph graphics of this.
So that does need to be done by the front-end team, though.
Well, it's already done. I mean, it's really just a packaging problem, because there already is a way to do this. Or I think. Okay, do we have anybody from project management in this meeting? No. Is that true? Let's all right, let me send something about this. Yeah. Or I could make a note somewhere else about it. Shall I do that? I mean, do you really think it's not for your team?
Yeah.
I mean, I think the packaging is for you guys.
Packaging comes with a whole lot of problems, Stephen, as well. Down the list of features we've implemented for 11.3, I have one complaint at least. But you get something that you send us something that you think just needs packaging, but then it needs digging and re-implementing and making it efficient and making it work for all cases. And all.
Yeah. All right. Okay. We'll look at it in a minute. Okay. All right. I'm making a note of this. Okay. All right. Let's move on. So for this version, what are you doing here? You are supporting curves with an option or what?
Sorry.
For image graphics.
It's too early. I maybe we shouldn't have brought it up because we need to be able to play with it, before we.
Okay. All right. Estimated image depth. That's really cool.
Right. We didn't have time to train it ourselves. We have the network in NetModel. Do we want to wrap it into a function for 11.3?
I think unless we've got good training, I wouldn't do it unless it's reliable. I mean, can we make it reliable now, or is it? What is the function? And what is the NetModel?
NetModel, I can give you the function. You probably don't have it in the.
Was it in the repository?
Yes.
So
I'll send you the link.
Take a look. Can I find it here? What is it? Depth.
Relative depth. Further down.
This is getting so big.
And the last section. Regression on the regression. Second one.
What on earth why is it called regression?
I haven't looked at these in details.
Well, that seems like the wrong place for it, doesn't it?
I agree.
Can you tell Megan
Sure.
that? Where should it be? Should it be on image processing or miscellaneous or what?
I have to see what other sections there are.
Okay. Well, that wasn't very useful. What is it?
Wrap it in an image.
Oh.
And probably you need to image adjust to see the full range of pixels.
Okay. Elephants in the fog. I mean, it seems to think that the elephants, I don't understand, the tusk, well, the tusks seem to be, it thinks the tusks are closer. What can I do with this can I do a relief plot or something against how would I do this? How would I see what's going on?
Scroll down in the net repository page. There should be an example that puts it in a list plot.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay, cool. Well, let me not do it. Okay, so do we think, I mean, the other question is estimated image depth. So what if we get it in this form? I mean, what are people going to want to do with that?
I think it's going to be useful in remove background eventually. So you can basically separate the foreground from background.
That's a good idea.
That.
But I mean, also, but people are going to want to do it to try and reconstruct 3D geometry.
Typically not from a single image.
Well,
that's very common, mostly from either stereo or multiple views.
Yeah, I understand, but you might be able to do something from this. Could we, what could we do to support that? Can we turn this into what things we can? I mean, clearly there are some. We should be able to infer sides of the regions as well, right?
Size of the region?
The side. I mean, what it would look like from the side as well as maybe not. All right. Look. Anyway, it seems like we're not quite ready to have that. Maybe for the next version.
Great.
We can.
I like to be able to train it as well ourselves. The data set used for this network is fairly limited on scenes.
Okay. All right. Let's go to find faces. Okay. So do I have a let's find some training. I mean some test data for that. Okay. So what has happened to find faces?
Syntax-wise, it's we're adding that property and criteria. Property could be things like area, bounding box, position, and things like that. And then criteria, you can say hash age greater than 50, and then we use facial features.
Wow. Okay. Okay, so this is bounding box subimage. area. What is the area? Like 22 centimeters or something squared? Or what do you mean by area?
No, the pixel counts.
Okay.
And for now,
Let's
we are
say-
returning the pixel count of the bounding box, basically the area of the bounding box. But I think down the road, if we have models that return ellipses or even completely segmented regions, we can basically be more accurate about the size.
Okay, so do we have examples here? So I take that example and I just do default find faces. Okay, so now if I say image trim of that image with that.
Yep. Oops.
It doesn't like that.
Should have worked. I'll look into it.
Does it not support the multi-form yet?
Try it.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's not supporting the multi-form yet.
All right.
Okay, that's really nice. Okay, so now, so you also have facial features. So let's just take a look a little bit more in find faces. So what else have you changed? So these all seem reasonable. Any feature in facial features. Okay, so that's a named feature.
Exactly.
List of properties. Okay, faces that satisfy F. Okay. Okay. By the way, if I say here, highlight image of this thing, comma, %11.
Yeah, that should work.
Very good. Very nice. Okay.
There is one backwards incompatible change. If you go back to find faces, we used to have the min max.
I saw that.
Yeah, okay. For the second argument, which was basically parameters that we pass to the library to detect faces in that range. Now we are making that parameters for a method sub-option. And then we are making that min max syntax as a post-processing. So we find all the faces, then we select based on that.
Yeah, okay. And you're having that as the third argument, the criterion argument.
Exactly.
Can you detect? I mean, for right now, you're going to
obviously support it in the second argument because it's not conflicting with the properties.
All right. Do you want to generate a warning for that case? Why don't you generate a warning for that case? Sure. Just say it should go in as a criterion in the third argument. Okay. So let's do facial features. Okay, all new. All right. So if I simply take those faces and I just say facial features of %13, it's going to load something.
Yep.
Is it going to give an association for each face here?
Yes.
Okay, let's take a look.
Or actually a list of associations. Last time we discussed it in the machine learning meeting. We decided that facial feature accepts the original image. So if you even pass it that
I see. Right.
You get,
so it'll get each one of these will be an individual face.
Yes.
Why is this hanging? That's not a good sign. Shall I abort this?
I would say so.
Okay, so let's try facial features just of the original image again. Humph. Okay, we crashed here. So something is wrong. Do you want to show me facial features?
There are examples in the ref page.
Okay. Oh, it's the same characters. Bluff. Something's gone wrong there.
Can I take a screenshot? Just hold on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Done.
Well, I also switched off. Yeah, who knows what's happened here. Okay.
The
Facial
reflected
features. What's that?
Yeah. The reflected version of the image is weird. I don't know. I'll look into it.
That is really weird.
Yeah.
Okay. Facial features. Now, oh, it's producing a data set.
So by default, we picked the three properties that we thought are commonly wanted: age, gender, emotion, and we're not giving details of landmarks, nose, eyes, and so forth. Is that a good default, you think?
I think it's okay. I think the age is absurd. I mean, I just think that's embarrassingly over-precise.
Okay, we'll make it an integer.
I would make it an integer, yes. I mean, unless for what is the baby case looking like? I mean, in other words, can we detect 3-month-old versus a 9-month-old?
Maybe. Well,
Let's
still the
find out.
network. Yeah. Well, the network gives us back a distribution.
Okay. So what
And
are we doing?
Can do, well, maximum likelihood seems to be a good thing to return for age.
Fine. Look, I think what we should do, why don't you try and be sensible here and figure out, how to round these ages to probably 0.5 or something, but I don't know what you want to do for the baby case.
Okay.
But that just looks stupid.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, presumably, can we return the age distribution from here? The inferred age distribution, because that might also be useful.
Those are some properties.
Yeah, we have age distribution as a weighted data object. What does that mean?
What we could do also a distribution, but then we have to estimate. It comes back as a discrete list of. It is actually a weighted data. So for every age, we have a weight. So if we want to return an actual distribution, we have to estimate a distribution, and we don't know what's the shape of it. I think the easiest.
Roger, do you have any comments on this?
I mean, if you can perform any descriptive statistic. If you want the median from that, it's well defined.
From the weighted data object.
Yeah.
But
well, then why don't we call that thing age weights?
Age weights, okay, and then weighted data.
And then return the weighted data object, and if you want to get some, statistics from it, then you can just do it.
Okay.
And why don't we explore the possibility of an age distribution if we don't think, I mean, it may just be silly,
okay,
right? Because it may be too much, it may be like getting this absurd over precision thing.
Okay. And I think that's probably the same thing for expression distribution, or we are now going to call it emotion. We're just going to call it emotion weights.
Why don't we call it emotion weights, gender weights?
Okay, sounds good to me.
And then do examples where you actually use that to call some of those things,
Sure.
like you want the
median instead,
median, or
yes, or variance, which I think would be interesting too.
Yeah, or standard deviation, which is sort of in the same scale.
Sure.
Right. Yeah, standard deviation would be better. Okay. So now when you give the left eyebrow, so in this case, these noses, wherever they were, why on earth are you making a non-default? Why do you bother to make that a non-default highlight image?
Maybe that was red and not so visible.
Well, then pick a different facial feature. I can't believe that red noses aren't visible.
That shouldn't be a first example anyway. Sorry, I haven't reviewed all of them yet.
Fair enough. And I don't quite understand. So a nose consists of multiple lines?
Yeah.
What are those nose lines? So
it has a baseline and a I don't know what it's called. Like the
I don't know what it's called either.
Yeah. So
okay.
So we got 2 lines for each of the face. For each of the faces, we got 1 line object, but each one of them is basically 2 subs.
So, I mean, one ultimate really cool thing that we could do, which kind of leads into a different one, is aligning this with anatomical data. So, in other words, I mean, this is in the super hard category, and I'm not seriously suggesting it right now.
Okay.
But an ultimate that we would love to be able to do, right, is to be able to take our anatomical data with bones and so on, and be able to take a 3D, a DICOM 3D CAT scan type thing, and conform the bones that we have in anatomical data with what you actually see on a CT scan. And similarly here, it would be super cool to be able to take our detailed anatomical data on a face and somehow map that onto what is deduced from these facial feature, from the facial feature detector.
Yeah.
But I mean, that makes me wonder what is in the nose, so to speak. I mean, okay, so a nose is 2 lines. What's an eyebrow? Is an eyebrow 1 line?
We're
As an eye a few points.
Maybe in this model, I think it's a 1 line, but we could have basically a contour around it.
Okay, but let's talk for a second about what the landmarks actually return, because what you have here, that landmark, for some reason, the nose is returning a line. Okay, right. But a nose is not a line.
But I don't think we have full control around it. There are different models being proposed, and I'm more interested in discussing how can we make this future-proof so that if we want to change from one network to another, then our design is still extendable.
Right, well, I understand. So what we want to describe then is that the nose is going to give a geometric approximation, essentially, instead of saying, if we just
Isn't that a matter of use cases? I mean, so one thing is to get sort of a high fidelity, geometric approximation. One is to know the essential features of it.
Sure. Like for example, if we want to do, face recognition, we're going to need to know, I mean, there are a certain set of parameters that you need. And where are the parameters that you need for biometric type stuff? Which I think are various distances and so on, right? There's a standard set, I believe. Shadi? Did I lose you?
No, I'm here. Sorry. It took me a few seconds to find on mute.
So I'm asking, when we look at biometrics of a face,
right?
I mean, it would be nice to have something where you're just returning essentially the n-gram, the biometric n-gram of a face, which you probably can deduce from distances between different things and so on.
Exactly.
And I think also there's a coordinate system question, right? Of what, relative to the face outline, what is the relative distance of, where are the eyes relative to the outline of the face, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There must be tons and tons and tons of literature on this.
Yep.
It seems unobvious to me. I mean, what we're doing here is obviously an interesting start, but I think, the facial landmarks, what we want to say is we're going to return a geometric approximation to each one.
Mm-hmm.
If that's what we're doing.
I think that's reasonable, yeah. At best, I think we should release this experimental. I agree that there are so many unknowns for facial.
Right, but the 2 things that seem to me pretty obvious are, having something where you can essentially make a cartoon of the face, right? Transform the face into a smiley type thing.
Yep.
Which you obviously should be able to do because these, I mean, what's interesting here is just by putting in the list of these parameters, you should be able to feed them basically directly to a smiley generator, and it should make something that makes a smiley that looks like, that mirrors that face.
Yep.
So we've got that, and we've got kind of the, and I mean, that seems relevant, particularly when we're looking at video type stuff and being able to trace, the evolution of emotion through a sequence of frames, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
I mean, the other thing that's obviously relevant is the biometric application, and we should figure out how that works.
Face morphing as well. How are we going to go from a smile to a frown? And
yes.
Or from face 1, person 1 to person 2.
Fair enough.
Things like that.
All right, but anyway, I think for right now, what you're doing is you're returning a geometric approximation to these things,
yes.
And the quality of that geometric approximation may later be determined by some performance goal type thing.
True, we can do that.
Now, all of these things are in pixels, right?
Yes.
Are we getting ourselves in trouble by saying estimated gender here in modern times? Probably not. It's probably as close as we're going to get to something that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, looks great. All right, let's keep going. Text recognize next up. Actually, this is really cool, this facial stuff. Does it work for non-human faces?
As long as
The
face
features are
detection.
similar.
Yeah, well, as long as, well, face detection should succeed for anything that is non-human. So first off, you have to find the face.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I think once you detect there is a face in the picture, or you say this bounding box is a face, all of those you get an estimate for them.
Fair enough. We'll see what it thinks the eyebrows of the elephant are.
Yeah.
Okay, let's continue. Text recognize.
We're
So what's happened?
We're getting a network for detecting locations of the text. And we are still using Tesseract for recognition, but we are going to send a mask to Tesseract, which is going to improve the recognition.
Are we still, are there not networks? I mean, even that person in summer school trained a network for Chinese and things that was pretty good.
We were in contact with him, continued with him for a month or so after summer school. We are going to have our own trained network for text recognition, but not this version. There were some framework limitations for importing some models into Math.
Okay, but so what's happening in 11.3? Is there, what is this? Is this?
That's still not happening. The only thing that's happening, an actual change, is that masking goes to all is going to change to masking goes to automatic.
By default.
Yes. And so we are going to find the text first ourselves. Okay.
And do we have this find text function yet?
I started. There is actually a page for it in CVS, but as I was drafting it, I realized it's going to be very similar to text recognize, and text recognize already has this bounding box property. So I excised this for now. We're just going with text recognize 11.
Okay. So can you request the text bounding box and text recognize?
Yes. I think it's one of the early examples.
Okay. All right. Let's move on. Okay. Audio capture on Linux. Great. How has the GUI changed, or the audio thing?
It's the backend. We released audio stream in 11.2. So the backend of the audio GUI is going to be audio stream now. A lot less code integrated.
So if I say audio capture right now, what's happening here?
Enable your dynamics.
Okay. What is this? Driver. What on earth is that? Hello. Failed to open. Device close, failed to open.
I haven't seen that. I'll look into it.
Well, it did record something. Okay. There's no visible change that I can see in this.
No, should be more stable though.
Okay, well, that's good.
We had problems with playing back very short audio objects, or some glitches in audio capturing, some clicking sounds came back. All of those should be gone.
So if I wanted to do an 8-hour recording, would I be?
I think so. It starts writing into a file.
Okay. Audio record.
That's a new function in the audio stream family. So it's, in a sense, programmatic capture.
Returns an audio streams object. So what is the idea here? No examples yet. So wait a minute. So what is this? So this is something where you're opening an audio stream, and then you say on that stream, record. I'm confused here.
Yeah, maybe we should start from audio stream. Can you open the page for audio stream? There is a new syntax, the second one in the blue box. Audio stream of an input device gives us a handle for an input audio stream.
I would call that, I see this one here.
This one, yeah.
Okay, so what are my audio devices? Can I look up my audio devices, input devices there? Okay. Not our fault that those things have stupid spaces in them.
No, this is what comes back from your macOS.
Okay. Okay. So then what here?
So audio stream of one of those devices is going to give you a handle for a recording or input stream.
Okay, so let's say I take first of that,
Yep.
display audio. I've got two display audio, I've got two monitors. So what does that mean? How do I distinguish those two display audios?
Yeah, this is, I don't know. We can look into this if you want to go to your Mac settings, your preferences, to see how, this is exactly, I think, how operating system shows them.
Yeah, but we know, because we know if you go here, right, let me show you something. I mean, if I go, no, I don't mean that. I mean system information.
Apple, yeah. Click. Okay.
No. I mean our own system information, right? So here, if I look at devices, right, there they are. Screen one, I mean, okay, those are I admit that I don't really see the audio devices connected to these.
Right, maybe we should add them there as well.
Probably should, but if we do add them, okay, so graphics subsystem, blah. That's very unclear what that means, right?
Yeah.
Because being able to, I mean, it knows there's a screen one and a screen two, but how that's connected to the audio devices, I don't know.
Yep.
I mean, it's kind of cool because I could record in stereo probably from my two monitors if I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, so you're saying audio stream of %4 will, is that right?
Yep.
Will go ahead. Okay, so it says stopped. So now if I want to do audio record for some period of time, presumably, is that right?
No, you can stop it or pause it. You can, it's a one argument. Yep. Maybe it should have a duration.
Well, how does it?
Yeah, something is happening with devices here.
Okay, but in what sense? I mean, I don't understand how you use it without a duration.
So you basically, it's like audio play and the rest of the subsystem. You know, when you had you had an actual audio and you said audio stream of the audio, you say audio play that audio object or the audio stream, and then at some point an event could trigger an audio pause or audio stop, or you could just call audio stop, and this is the same thing.
But audio play is asynchronously playing, is that correct?
Yes.
I see, and it comes back with a handle. Well, this is the handle.
That is the handle, yeah.
I see. So it's like an external. What's a good analogy to this? I mean, is it like it's like a one of our tasks, a task object, which is externally just doing its thing.
Exactly.
Is it in fact implemented using task objects?
I don't know. Well, is it? Yes, it is.
Should we actually be able to use tasks? I mean, like for example, how do you kill the thing? Are you just stopping the audio, or can you actually kill it and remove that task?
You should stop it. It's not coming back as a task object that you can then. Do you mean using the task subframework?
Yeah, I mean, I'm suggesting maybe as I don't know whether it's necessary, but being able to call the task functions directly on these audio streams.
I think we looked at it 11.2. It would have been problematic. These are all some reasons why this subsystem is still experimental. Even I think you were confused a little bit with the input streams and output streams. I think it's kind of neat if we can merge them all under audio stream, but I still don't know if we can keep them very clear what each one of them do.
That is very confusing. I agree, because obviously what you do, I mean, I see. So audio stream could be an input audio or an output audio.
Right.
Stream.
Right.
But there's no sense in which it's ever going to be both. Is that a true statement?
You can still do things like audio play of a stream that is being recorded. You have to be.
I see.
Yeah, you have to be sure they're not both going through the built-in stuff so that the echo is happening. But in a sense, the idea is that an audio stream could be, populated from an audio object, a file, or an input device, and then this is just the beginning of all real-time stuff for audio.
Okay, so look, in the case of audio record,
yep,
which will be read as audio record, but so it goes. You don't, in fact, have a time specifier here. Right,
We don't. Audio play, I think, has max duration, doesn't it? So maybe this one should as well.
Well, I mean, audio play, it presumably knows the stream may have an end.
Yep.
Max duration is there, but
you could still turn on the looping, right, and then have max durations control.
I mean, things like device read time series, okay, which seem to me like they're very similar to audio record, clearly has a time in it.
Yep.
I don't understand how this could not have a time. I mean, is it bringing up a GUI? Is that the way that you're supposed to control it?
It's just changing the state of the stream, which then you can pause it with audio pause or stop it with audio stop.
I see. So it's starting to record, but then how do I get the data from the recording from the audio stream?
Audio stream, the last note before the futurized note.
I'm not believing this very well.
So I mean, the other way around, we were doing audio stream of audio object to get the handle. I think audio of an audio stream, which puts all the data into an audio object, is not completely nonsense.
Yeah, but okay, but look, audio record doesn't seem like, I mean, it's more like audio start recording.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's probably a better name. I mean, in the other one, and the other one is audio start playing, I would think.
At the same time, if either one of them is paused, you can restart recording or playing with the same function.
Well, I just think audio record what I would expect is that this is a blocking synchronous function that you give it a time and it records for that period of time.
That's audio capture. Now if the names might be not so intuitive, but that's audio capture. It is blocking, it's GUI based.
Okay. Can it be done, but it can be done capture for a certain amount of time, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Which as well, I think you didn't like the design we had in there.
And well, let's take a look at that.
We didn't touch the design there yet. It's max duration.
Ugh. Yeah. I mean, it'd be nice to be able to just give a time there. Although that's sort of inconsistent with audio capture to file as one argument.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not getting this terribly. I mean, that is audio record.
If you don't mind us having this experimentally released, I think it's going to help us cook the idea. And as I said, this is
that's fine, so long as we make sure to come back to it in the next version.
Yeah.
And audio capture, I noticed, still also tagged as experimental.
Exactly.
Okay, even though it's been a while. Has it only been 11.1?
Yeah, yep.
Wow, that was the first time we had real-time audio capture? Wow, okay.
Yeah, well, 11 we released audio.
Yeah, right. And we didn't have capture. Okay, fair enough. New option for audio. Okay, audio loop. Wait a minute. Isn't there a looping option in animation as well? And what is that looping option called?
Animation repetitions.
That's a yucky name.
Yep.
And what do you expect in the audio loop case? Is there a count like that? Maybe it would be nice to be able to merge those options.
I was also thinking we can extend audio loop to take a time quantity so that we say loop until that time, but it's kind of redundant.
Loop a certain number of times.
Duration, or a certain number of times, yes.
Certain number of times we wouldn't, I mean, that is what we get here.
I think part of what we want to do, Stephen, is that, I don't mind us introducing some of these as experimental. In fact, I think it would be a good thing to do, because once we get a little bit farther along on the real-time stuff, our universe will expand.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? And we're going to regret a bunch of decisions.
Well, okay, look, I want to make the point. I think animation repetitions and audio loop have to be merged somehow. Animation repetitions is a decade old. it's, you know, that whole mechanism is quite rickety in my view. I mean, audio loop just as an option, it doesn't make sense. I mean, it's audio looping, or, you know, audio loop sounds like an imperative verb.
Uh-huh.
It does.
Audio looped, ed, audio.
But then if we want to extend it to take a number or a duration, although, as I said, the duration or a number is redundant with our max duration.
No, I understand. Look, audio looping seems a little less loopy, so to speak, than this.
Okay, we'll rename it.
Okay. All right, audio channel assignment, what is that?
That tells you, you know, when you have multiple channels.
Yes.
You have a 6-channel audio, but only a stereo speaker. How do you want to play it? This was already introduced 11.2. And now we are adding it to audio stream and audio play.
This is a minor update. It is important, and you will feel eventually that it's important, particularly when it comes to music.
Okay. All right. We are out of time here, but let's just take a quick look forward at what else there is here. I think we're going to have to schedule one more of these. Property setting here. Okay, inverse spectrogram array. Did we manage to figure out the scales for inverse spectrograms?
If we want to do that, we basically need some kind of a spectrogram array
wrapper. Yeah,
object.
I know. Well, how goofy does it get? I mean, so if I do an audio capture here, let's just say I do an audio capture. Hello there. Okay, so now I make a spectrogram. Oops, spectrogram array. Well, let's do a spectrogram array of this. Why is it taking forever?
It's displaying the large list.
Okay. So if I were to do, how do I visualize this?
You have to transpose and things like that, but very quickly do an array plot or matrix plot of apps of that.
Okay. Is that the loop around of the Fourier spectrum?
Exactly.
I mean, yeah. Okay. So if I get that whole, this is a mess, isn't it? I mean, if I'm going to say, this is really not a super usable, I mean, this inverse spectrogram thing, we are going to need a different way to do this. What on earth is that?
And yeah, because we don't have the sample rate and things like that preserved, the only reasonable way to get back the audio is that we explicitly wrap the data in audio and specify sample rate.
Sample rate. Humph.
Yep.
This isn't great. We should discuss this some more.
Okay.
Let's do that next meeting, because Shadi's and my conclusion is that we got to preserve some of these outer properties if you want full reconstructibility.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a bit like time series, right? I mean, in time series, you preserve a lot of stuff. I mean, this is
wavelet transforms, I would say, so that we have the wavelet data that stores everything in it. What object was this originally? Was it an array? Was it an audio and an image?
Yeah, well, what you're suggesting is that what we need for the spectrogram thing, you know, audio is a time domain audio object. You're saying there should be a frequency domain audio object of some kind.
It is. It's a short-term Fourier transform, right?
I know that's what the spectrogram is, but the spectrogram is just a bunch of graphics.
Well, I mean, if you want the picture, it's the picture. But if you want the data, it could be an object.
Yes, I understand.
Important object to preserve. And then we can have full, you know, then everything is, you know,
is saved.
Yeah, right. But so it could be some kind of variant of audio, as in something like, you know, I don't know what you would call it. I mean, it's basically frequency domain audio representation, frequency domain representation of the audio.
That's an interesting idea.
The,
Different way of saying that object.
yeah, right. But I mean, then what we would do.
I mean, short-term Fourier transform is more general than audio, clearly.
Yeah.
It is, yes, it is. And maybe that's a mistake to actually tag it with audio because we might want to use it for a bunch of other things.
Yeah, that was exactly why we renamed this to be more generic.
All right. But I mean, so what?
But it suffers some usability issues, you know? So.
Well, if we had, look, if we had an actual spectrogram wrapper of some kind, then that spectrogram wrapper could be fed to audio, which will then do the inverse Fourier transform and just basically do this inverse spectrogram array.
Right.
Okay. All right. Let's just look ahead just because I'm impatient. And well, I'd like to, is speech synthesized completely new, or did we have some version of that before?
We had some version.
Yeah.
We had a generic one.
Okay.
Which is the same library on all platforms. And now the native synthesizers, speech synthesizers, are improving and will continue to improve because voice is, gradually more important.
Yep.
And this can call into those native ones.
Okay, we should look at these some more. By the way, I noticed with XLS, I'm going to make this point of a bunch of character encoding issues on some Excel import I did recently. I don't know if we think we've solved that.
Hopefully, if you send us examples, we'll look into it. Make sure
I know it was a complicated,
that.
messy example, but I do you think you understand? I just want to make the point that somebody should just look at whether Excel comes with some indication of character, some standardized character encoding, some indication of it, or whether we have to basically use a heuristic to decide what the character encoding is likely to have been.
I'll look into it. Sean is working on it in details. I'll talk to him about it.
Sounds good. All right, to be continued. And for those who were on this live stream, that's the end of this meeting, and we're about to go into a different meeting. So okay, so see you guys. I'll push these documentation changes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, see you.
Bye.
Bye.